Hello, this is Jaron Smith from thepixelsmith.com, and today I'm here to show you a Photoshop trick that will allow you to color black and white line art. So what you can see, what we have right here is a comic book style illustration. It was actually done by my brother, Jade Smith. He's a trained illustrator. So whenever I have something like this needed, he's the one who does it for me. It's black and white. He basically drew it, penciled it by hand, he inked it, and then he scanned it in for me. It's pretty high contrast, and that's really important for what we're going to do. So some people, when they try to color this, will basically try to draw on top of the white areas. That's really kind of hard. Some people will try to select them. They'll try to take the magic wand, maybe, and they'll try and select the white areas, and they'll try to color that in on its own layer. They'll make a new layer usually, and then maybe take the paintbrush or the bucket, and they'll just dump a color in there. That's actually fairly common. I'm going to remove that selection and look at it. But when I zoom in, what you can see is there's all sorts of small little few pixel areas that weren't included in that selection, so it becomes really kind of annoying to do that. Now you could fix that, you could make the selections tighter, but really there's a much better way. I'm just going to use my history panel to go back to when I open the file. I'm going to Command 0 or Control 0 for Windows users to allow me to fit my entire image on the screen. So instead of drawing on top of the white areas of black and white, what I want to do is remove those white areas. I want to have solid black lines on their own layer, and I want to be able to draw below them. Very similar to the way that old traditional cell animations were created, where the outlines were drawn on the front of the acetate and then colors were added behind that, so that the black areas give you a kind of safety margin. To do what we want to do isn't really that hard, but it is a multi-step process to achieve. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is take my black and white image and I'm going to select it all. Select all. That gives me a selection around the entire area. And then I'm going to copy it, edit copy or Command C. What I'm going to do is take that black and white information, and this really works on a black and white file. I'm going to go to my channels panel. I'm going to make a new alpha channel. Then I'm going to paste that information back in. I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut Command V. You can go to edit paste to do the same thing. And that gives me alpha channel 1. Alpha channels are the same thing that you get when you save a selection. And in that save selection, what I want to do is actually reverse the black and white areas here. So I'm going to use the keyboard command for invert, which is Command I, but you'll also find the command under Image Adjustments, Invert right there. Now, everything that was black is white, and everything that was white is black. Now what you see is that there are some small little speckled areas. To fix this and make this really high contrast, really small little areas I don't need, I've got a couple choices. One, I don't need my selection anymore, so I'm going to choose Select, Deselect. Now I could simply take a paintbrush, and I could take black, and I'm going to choose a hard-edged brush right here. I'm going to make it a little smaller. And I could just paint over these areas with black. So I can manually just paint anything I don't want just away. I can also use Image, Adjustments, Levels, and I'm going to pull in the black slider. I'm going to pull in the white slider, which is going to increase the contrast in these areas. If I slide the middle slider a little more towards the black, notice that there's more variation, more little speckles in the white areas. If I slide it more towards the white, those become more distinct. So I just use this to increase the contrast in this black and white channel. I'll click OK. Now I don't want to see the channel anymore, so I'm going to click back on the RGB channel. That's actually where your colors are. Normally channels are where the colors of an image are stored. An RGB file has a red, green, a blue channel, and the composite, the RGB. Alpha channels are what store additional bits of information. Like I said, normally they're where your selections are stored when you save your selections. So I'm just going to reveal that again. If you want, you can change the name from Alpha Channel 1 to anything else. I'll double click on Alpha 1. It reloads it, and I'm just going to change it into outlines. And I'll click back on the RGB channel to display it. I'll go back to my layers panel. I don't really need to see the background layer, but I can't hide it until I make a new layer. What I would like to do is load that channel that I just made as a selection. Select, load selection. From the load selection dialog and channels, I should see outlines, and I'll click OK. Now this is all of the areas that were black. I'm going to now make a new solid color layer. And As you can see from the preview, green is my current color. All the areas that were black in the original document are now green here. I'm going to choose black as my color picker. And I'm going to hide the background layer. And now what I have are the black lines of the original artwork against a transparent background. In order to color this, all I'd have to do is make new layers below my color fill 1. I'll just take a paintbrush and very rapidly paint something in. I'll paint his tunic red. I'm going to use a smaller brush than that. And now I have that. So as you can see, it's actually on the layer behind the black outlines. And you can now color this in using any technique that you like. You can make selections and then fill them in. You can use a paintbrush as I'm doing. However you like to color artwork will work right now, no problem at all. Really, it was the way of converting that black and white outline to just solid colors with a background that's unique. And this concludes our little tutorial on preparing black and white line art to be colored.